Okay, what we're going to cover today is the first half of the final third of Siu Lim Tao. We start with the Pak Jung, going through Garn Sau or Garn Sau version through to the Garn Sau version. If I get time, I might even tell you a story about why we do both sections separately. Okay, this is the whole section. Garn Sau. Notice the wrist rolls at the same height as the technique. A lot of people lift up to shoulder height to do that when they shouldn't. The whole of the final third is actually about short range power, so everything should be done precisely, neatly, and making sure that every single technique is finished. This is very important for all of Siu Lim Tao, but in particular this part. If you don't finish it nice and neatly, you will not learn the short range power so easily. It'll be very difficult to learn. Now we're going to break it down. And the first thing you have to do is you turn your hand up vertically. Ingo moves his hand forward a little at the same time, which is not actually correct. So you just turn the hand up vertically in place. It's stretched back as far as it possibly can. It is a stretch and an exercise. Then you move it forward and you move it across horizontally. The elbow will be slightly lower than the hand, but it moves across horizontally until it reaches the side of the body, which should be the same place as the fist. The elbow is closer to the body and the hand is slightly out. This is so the elbow is behind the movement for the power. It's all within the fist and the thumb for the back door. This is an emergency block for when something comes under your defenses, such as Garn Sau. The first one, done at the end of the first section, is for when there is an attack that comes over your defenses, so it's higher. This one is for under the defenses, so it comes under the arm. After this, the hand snaps back to the original place, but this time the palm is horizontal. It's also pulled back far as you can, and it is again pulled back as a stretch. Now we're going to do the palm. The elbow comes in through center and powers the strike from the elbow. So at impact range, the elbow is still in center. The elbow then drives the hand, which could be either a push or a strike, to move the enemy. The hand strikes at heart height. It's not shoulder height, it is heart height. After this, after your elbow is fully extended, you then lay the hand flat at heart height. It's all at heart height. Then you do the wrist roll, it stays at heart height, and then when you do the withdrawal, the elbow is pulled back, the hand comes from heart height. And now we're back in neutral stance. Should check all the details as usual. And now we will consider some errors. If you have a look at the one on the left, the hand is not at heart height. Also, he's got his fingers spread as well. On the right hand side, the elbow is out, not tucked into the body, and the hand has come around instead of being straight. On the left here, the elbow's out from the body, it's not tied in, the hand is not vertical, so he's not doing a palm strike. It's relaxed, it hasn't gone far enough. Also, because the backhand is not lifted up far enough, the hand is in the wrong place. On the right hand side, the hand is not vertical or horizontal, so I don't know whether it's coming back or going forward. It's got to be exactly vertical on the way out, and it's got to be exactly horizontal on the way back, and also the fingers should not be spread. And now on the right hand side, before we start with the next section, in neutral stance, we'll just have to start checking everything all over again before we start into the Garn Sau section. The next two sections are very similar, related. We'll talk about that a little later. Start the same and end the same, with only just something different in the middle. So both start with the hand being dropped vertically and turned over just a fist and a thumb distance. Then the hand spears forward through the center in like a Garn Sau movement. Halfway through, it turns around to give torque to the contact with the enemy to produce more power. Then it finishes the Garn Sau at a fist and a thumb distance. And now Garn Sau. The elbow pulls back to a fist distance while the hand turns over, and it comes back along the lines of the forearm. It doesn't pull back, it pulls back and down towards the center. Now there is a short turn going forwards where it rotates again on contact. So it's just a short, sharp movement with the elbow is kept low. And now we do Garn Sau. Garn Sau is quite a difficult technique. The wrist bends, but not the hand. The hand stays flat. This is to increase the power of the use of the blade against the incoming attack. The wrist and elbow stay on center line. Nothing moves except the forearm drops down and the wrist moves in a circle. It stays a fist and a thumb out, and it stays on the center line. This is very, very important. This idea of nothing moving except the important striking parts is very important to the next move as well, which is the angle palm. The hand does not come back. It turns into place and then goes straight forward. Do not pull your hand back. This is critical. After this, we do a wrist roll at floating rib heights, which is the same as any other wrist roll, except it's lower. That is the only difference. Now we're in neutral stance. We check all the details, and then we repeat it all on the right hand side to finish this section. And again, as soon as we're back in neutral stance, check posture, check stance, check elbows, knees, everything, waist.
And now we'll deal with some common errors. In the one on the left, the man has not dropped his wrist enough and the hand is hooked rather than flat. In the one on the right, the elbow is out and the thumb is out. Other than that, and he's not dropped his wrist quite enough either. In these ones on the left, the person has pulled the hand back before striking. And on the one on the right, again, he's hooked his hand, he's moving around in a large circle instead of doing a direct, short, sharp one. In the one on the left, the man is using the back of his hand to Garn Sau rather than the edge of his hand. And in the one on the right, what he's actually doing here is he's lifted his hand too far up to do the circle. He hasn't left it at floating ribs height to do the circle hand.
This section has exactly the same moves as the previous section except for 2 moves. So we'll just repeat them all from the previous section, and you can just follow along until we come up to the part where it's changed. Where it is first changed is after the hand is dropped and gone forward into Garn Sau. We end at that point. In the previous section we do Jut Sau. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to do Garn Sau from that point. So here we are at Garn Sau, and now this is where it becomes different. It cuts straight down and then comes back up. Okay, Garn Sau cuts straight down, but it cuts down slightly across center on the blade of the hand. So you rotate the hand on the blade of the hand and cut straight down. Only your body pushes it out sideways. There are different moves for each section of this, so it must all be done like this. So it crosses the center slightly, then cuts straight down, and your body allows the hand to go out slightly. You don't willingly turn into a curve. Looking from the top, it's a cut straight down and it goes onto the edge of the triangle. It's not a J curve or anything like that. It's basically a cut down. The hand is slightly canted to keep the fingers out of the way of the technique that's coming in, usually a kick. The end point of the hand is around about 1 inch away from your center line. If you put both hands down, they'd be about 1 inch or 2 apart. But the important thing is this is not a circle. Many people do it as kind of an arc going from the elbow. Also, the elbow must end up completely straight. Now we return movement. The return movement also does not lift, which is what people commonly do. It's lift into place and goes forward. It's very important that it is a forward move because you need to block an incoming punch. So if your hands are down by your side and when the punch comes in, you need to lift them up and go forward with it, otherwise it won't work in a surprise attack. It ends up a fist and a thumb away, just like the Garn Sau did, and this is where we start the the Garn Sau from this point. But first we're going to look at some errors. On the left hand side, the person has not only circled his hand, he's also doing it with a bent elbow, which invites having a broken hand. The hand is also not on the plane of the triangle, but flat to the surface of the body. In the one on the right, the hand is moving in a complete circle, and the fingers are apart as well. In the one on the left, the hand is lifting up rather than going forward with the Garn Sau, a very common mistake. And on the right hand side, the person has lifted his hand up to shoulder height to do the circling rather than leave it down at floating ribs height. That's all for the errors. And now we're back to the same as the moves in the previous section, so we're just duplicating it. The Garn Sau, which drops straight down, the elbow stays, the fist and thumb out. And then the hand will be turned into the angle palm and thrust forward without bringing it back. These are the key ideas of this section. Other than that, the rest is the same. Yeah, this is key. Don't let the elbow move. Keep it in place when you do the whole thing. And then only let it go forward. Don't let it come back when you do this strike. Okay, now you do a wrist roll at floating ribs height. Don't let it move anything else. Pull the elbow back, and now we're in neutral training stance, so now we check everything just like normal. Head up, toes in, knees bent, waist forward. Now we do it on the right hand side, and when the right hand side is finished, we're back in neutral stance, and we'll check posture, knees, waist, shoulders square, head up, and everything before doing the last part, where I'll tell you a story about why we do two sections. Now a bit of an explanation of why we have an extra section in the Siu Lim Tao in our system and why it's there. Originally what would happen is that if you were short, you'd learn the Jump Sau section. If you were tall, you'd learn the Garn Sau section, and you wouldn't learn both. For example, Chu Shong Tin first learned the Garn Sau section and Wong Salung learned the Jut Sau section. Once in a fight, in a tournament in Taiwan, Wong Salung was punched in the groin and his block missed. And he asked Yip Man, why didn't the block work? And he said, oh, you need to do Garn Sau. He said, I don't know Garn Sau. So from then on, Wong Salung decided to include both sections in there, whether you were tall or short. And other people made different compromises, so that means that it's not all Wing Chun forms have the same number of sections. Ours has an extra one because of Wong Salung's experience in this tournament. Thank you for listening.